You want to be loud, be clear, and be in control with IMLCorp's The Sound Commander. Where you from, Matt?
I'm from Parkland, Florida.
Okay. So you are one of the reasons that this rally was even, put together, right? So tell me some of the things that you've seen, that you've noticed over the time since the incident to now.
I've seen a lot of people stand up and start caring about things that don't directly affect them.
One of the things, this is a dicey subject, right?
Yes.
But activism, let's focus on that word. Activism is basically politics through a form of protest or through a form of art. Yeah. What are your ideas on art and politics? What are your ideas on how to implement art or use art to influence politics?
That's a really good question. I was in school before. I was a political science major. When I understood the system, it helped me become a better artist, because I found different ways and I became innovative in how I convey messages with art. So I think it's important, because I think art and politics intersect, because what happens is, what you notice in every era of political turmoil, the art directly affected that environment.
I am Commander Salisa Edwards, and I am right here at Decula Middle School for the Starfleet Institute for Learning STEM and Technology team.
Now, how long have you been teaching?
I've been teaching 25 years.
Let me ask you this. How would you feel about a PA sound system that gave mass notification about if anything was happening at a school? Like, if that was installed in the school systems, how would you feel about that? Would that be helpful? Would it be harmful?
I don't know if it's harmful.
Yeah, we're not sure about that, but if it is helpful, we can check in one place or see if it's working.
Yes to know.
If it's working, whatever works, we need to find a solution for it.
We don't need guns in our schools to fight people coming in. We need things in place that's gonna let everybody know that, hey, there's someone here.
I think it's horrible that we have to be worried about these things. It's not something that we should have to think about in our daily lives.
When I was 13, November 2015, my friend was in Paris and was shot multiple times at a concert that she was attending with her parents. She died as a result of her injuries, and ever since then I've been determined to tell her story and to tell people that no matter what country you're in, gun violence can affect you.
My question is so we kind of had the whole summer, and I guess in a way we kind of forgot about that fear of what it means to kind of go back, to have to walk back into the school. And I remember sitting with my sister in the library the day that the shooting happened at Parkland, and she was sobbing because she has friends there and she didn't know what happened to them. And then I was scared the following weeks. And so now I'm kind of scared by the prospect of having to go back to school.
I've been thinking about how this place that we were built to feel safe, to have an education, has kind of turned into a prison. And I've been balancing or trying to figure out, how do we go to school and attempt to learn when we not only have to treat it as a safe place to learn, but also as a place where we need to protect ourselves.
Hi, my name is Tina Brown with J19 Global Entertainment, and that's my son Joshua in the back. And we are here because we believe in civic stability, health, wellness, and safety. This gentleman right here is the proud owner of the sound system. It's from IML Corporation. He's going to tell you a little bit about it. And it's not just a PA system for you to listen to, but it's a PA system to keep you safe.
I know that you want stricter background checks. How do you feel about them proposing teachers being armed? What does that look like? Is that helpful? Is it harmful? Do you think that that's gonna...
No, I think the teachers should just be kept in their position as teachers only, and we should hire stricter force to manage security instead of teachers doing that. We got enough stress on the teachers trying to teach the kids, so that's would be extra stress on some teachers.
Everyone on this stage has different experiences regarding gun violence. So how do you propose we create change together?
I would say that, first of all, think about safety and think about saving lives. And then you put that with what equipment would be necessary to do that. And in essence, then you have what IMLCorp is all about. IMLCorp is a local original equipment manufacturer that specializes in the development and production of emergency sound equipment.
I think we have that. We go to Emory, so we also have that type of system.
Okay.
And I think it's a double-edged sword, you know, because it could be like, on one hand, it's like fear-mongering to an extent. Like, like you are constantly terrified for your safety. But on the other hand, I mean, we do know when to get inside. We do know when it's to be safe. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, I guess.
Gotcha.
Not only that, but I also feel like it gets the word out to people who are not, I guess, very aware of it. Like, you know, there could be visitors, there could be people just around the area. I mean, it's Atlanta. It's you know, it's a city where people just come by. There's business nearby. You know, schools are kind of in the middle of the city. You know, so for somebody to be here, be inexperienced with the location, to not know where to go for shelter, but know that there's something going on, I feel like that's advice to anybody out there that avoid this certain area, do something that you can, call police if not already, they've not already been notified, and I'd say just like get the word out there any way possible. Less casualties is always better.
OSHA regulations, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, require that alarm systems must be installed in any space with over 10 employees.
First of all, really appreciate everybody coming out. There is no better cause than this, and so I won't belabor that. I'm also only going to say a couple of words about the sound system, because the most important thing is that it's clear, it's on, everyone can hear it, and it should be invisible. The key, though, is safety, and this is what this system is all about. This system is just one in a series of systems that's used for safety around the city, around campuses. For an example, Georgia State University has this system. It's a much larger system, so if you're ever downtown and you hear an emergency broadcast go off, that's our system. It comes from IMLCorp. I'm the CEO and owner of IMLCorp, a Georgia company based in Marietta, so we're close.
In school, we read our history textbooks, and we hear about these injustices as if they were history. I think realizing that us having to be scared to sit in our desks at school, us having to be scared to go to restaurants or churches or concerts, I think we need to realize that these injustices aren't just history, and they don't just lie in our history textbooks at school. They're present. They're our everyday lives.
You deal with the response time of first responders. So of course you get the alert out there, and you got a bunch of kids running wild, but where are you running from? Where are you running to?
I think that education is a reactive place that we have here in just all the way around. Education is reactive. When something happens, we react. We need to be proactive.
I would want more elected officials to be involved within my personal experience, involved in my community, and just being that helping hand, not just the face that you see on media. I want to be able to share with them about the different things that we're suffering, the injustices, and what we want reformed. So with March for Our Lives, I want more youths to get out there and vote, more youths to use their voices and their platforms to speak on the things that bother them, and just seek reformation within their communities.
If they follow your example, they're going to do okay.
Did you guys know that Delta was the first to pull out with the NRA about giving them their discounts? Delta's on, and they also had the first billboard for the LGBTQ community. So how do you feel about Delta taking a stance? This is kind of big for that corporation to feel so openly a certain kind of way about what's going on. How do you guys feel about that?
I think it's wonderful.
Yeah.
I was not aware of that, but I feel like I always hear in the news corporations, I don't know, I'm not really on the corporation side usually, because I feel like they're resistant to change, and they're more open to accepting money from other things and whatever.
Right.
So I feel like Delta taking a stand is really hopeful.
Yeah.
I am Antoinette Tuff. Some of you all may remember me.
Oh, you're supposed to address your emergency?
Yes, ma'am. I'm on 2nd Avenue in the school, and the gentleman said, tell them to hold down. The police officer coming, and he said he's going to start shooting, so tell them to back off.
So the next time a police officer, the news media, a politician says this is not a problem in Atlanta, you tell them they're wrong.
So what we have to do is take what we know as older people and what you all know and kind of start to merge it together. And that's what Joshua and I are doing with our J19 camera lens. We're trying to take all that knowledge that you all have with a different kind of knowledge that the older generation have, and the knowledge of being on those front lines and fighting.
On August 20, 2013, I went to work that day,
expected to return home to my family the same way I did every day, just like all of us and some of us in this room. For me, unfortunately, a 20-year-old gunman dressed in all black, armed with an AK-47 and about 500 rounds of ammo, decided that day he was going to take lives. It was about 8 months after St. Louis school shooting, and that day changed my life. The reason why? Because 2 days before that, I tried to commit suicide.
You want me to tell her to let her come, sir? She sounds like she loves you a lot.
You're on the phone with a relative?
Yes. What'd you say, sir? He said he should have just went to the mental hospital instead of doing this because he's not on his medication. Okay. Well, do you want me to try? I can help you. You want me to try? You want to talk to them? Want me to talk to them and try to? Okay, well, let me talk to them and let's see if we can work it out so that you don't have to go away with them for a long time. No, it does matter. I can let them know that you have not tried to harm me or do anything with me or anything if you want to. But that doesn't make any difference. You didn't hit anybody.
We have to constantly remind ourselves of all the types of gun violence that aren't on our Twitter or Facebook feeds or making MSNBC or on our headlines. There are 96 gun deaths a day. Every single one of those is preventable. These suicides are preventable. We just have to put in the legislation to make it so.
I'm with J19 Global Entertainment, and this is
Jamal Lemmy from Parkland, Florida.
Now, Jamal, can you educate the people on what exactly we're here at the March for Our Lives tour? Well, what do you do for the tour?
I'm one of the lead organizers and creative directors for March for Our Lives, the national organization.
This last thing at Parkland, it really got to me. The others are terrible too, don't misunderstand me. But for some reason, when I saw the pictures of the children in the classrooms, and they were crouched down, and I remember when they showed a picture of when the door opened, and a guy, you could see his hands, he was shaking his hands like that. I can't get that out. He didn't know what to do.
I like to reset a quote by IMLCorp. Our lives begin to end the day that we become silent about the things that matter. Our lives begin to end the day that we become silent about the things that matter.
Before the incident in Parkland, what were you doing?
I was a college student, and I was designing shirts with one of my good friends, Joaquin Oliver, and we were designing shirts for social justice, and we wanted to dedicate a shirt to war-impoverished nations. And we were designing the shirt, and we had a shoot planned for the Friday post-shooting, and he was one of our lead models, and then since the shooting happened, we never had a chance to make the shirt.
When this things happened, right? When it happened in Parkland, I mean, we all know that police brutality has been something that we've been dealing with for a few years now. We all know that mass shootings have been something that have happened, but not to that degree. But I guess what the real question is here, I think now we're seeing a lot more of interconnection between ethnic groups and issues. So what is that overlap there? How do you guys think we can 100% bring those two missions together? Because it happens to everybody, but not everybody understands the plight of certain ethnic groups. So how do we blend these missions together so we have a better understanding?
We have to disrupt the entire political orthodoxy that has normalized death in communities of color. We have to disrupt the myth that young people are not engaged, aren't mobilized, aren't fired up or ready to go. With all our despair, with all our rage, and with all our hope, we have to vote.
And there's so many things that matter in my community that people have not given us the platform to speak about. Each day, because I experience day-by-day gun violence, so like sleeping in my bed, you hear gunshots, that's normalized to me because growing up, no one told me that that wasn't okay. Growing up, when I hear gunshots, it's another day on the block. It's reality, it's conditioned for lots of people of color who live in inner cities and experience gun violence on a day-to-day spectrum because no one came in, had these panel discussions, and gave us a platform to share our stories and told us that it wasn't okay. That this reality that we're living in is not okay. Standing in this chair right now, speaking about the things that I've seen growing up is not okay. And when you can say that a black boy shot in the street and him being walking back from school is gang violence because the color of his skin dictates his intention, that is not okay.
I'm going to direct this question to Nura because I feel like you'd be better to answer it.
The spotlight.
Yeah, so I think ethnic groups, a lot of people try to use Chicago and cities like Atlanta as excuses of gun violence. And when we look at the big picture, is it really just us? Because Alaska has the highest death by gun rate, and over 60% of their population are white people. So we see a correlation between colored people and gun violence from what the media portrays, but we're not really looking deeper to what the actual root of the issue is, which is background checks, the lack of mental health screenings, and people don't educate their kids. People don't lock up their guns, and that's the big problem.
Like my parents don't support me and they don't think that what I believe in is right. And I want to know how to change the stigma like around gun violence and like that it's not. A lot of my family members I've talked to think, oh, you want to take away all the guns, and every time I try to approach them and talk about it, they always ignore me and tell me you don't know what you're talking about.
I did not watch NFL football last year. They couldn't believe it. You're talking about somebody who's been a part of that since I was 5 years old. The NFL changed my life.
I'm a rising senior at Lassiter over in Marietta, and I had a question of what are we supposed to do when we have school districts and administrators actively prevent us from doing these walkouts and protests?
If they do that, one of our most powerful tools, even though my mom yells at me for being on it too much, is social media. Post about it on social media. Have people retweet it on social media. And also, in a lot of places, people don't know this, when you're 18, you can run for school districts, so do that.
We've seen here in Athens that drug law enforcement has disproportionately affected communities of color, and we've seen that communities around the country are moving towards regarding drug addiction as a health issue, not a criminal issue, and drug distribution as a symptom of economic depression that communities are failing to address. Now, I'm not trying to say that that's the case with this program that has been ongoing, but we just don't know because we haven't talked about it as a body. And so I would like to see a body in place that is having those conversations.
You don't stop a wildfire by starting more fires in the forest. This is an absurd deflection. You know what stops a bad guy with a gun? A bad guy with a gun is stopped by universal background checks. A bad guy with a gun is stopped by ATF legalization. A bad guy with a gun is stopped by sensible gun control policies.
Doing something that matters is the only thing that'll get the attention of bullies.
I think that a lot of these movements and a lot of traction, people do begin to understand what empathy is, and they begin to feel a little bit empathy, but that doesn't always make them take action. What is your plan, or what is the group's plan to force that empathy into a road of action?
We're just making people realize what's actually going on in this country. When people have to be in reality with you, they're more likely to react to that reality. We've been in a bubble for way too long where people feel like if this isn't in my backyard, it's not going to ever affect me. And we are connecting the dots between the day-to-day gun violence happening in this nation, the gun suicides and the mass shootings, the domestic violence incidents. We are creating... we're showing what's really happening in this country, because enough people have ignored this for too long to allow this to perpetuate to where it is now. This should have never happened, and this gun violence should never be happening in this country. The more mass shootings happen in Texas than any country in the world, and that is just a mind-blowing fact that doesn't get talked about, because it's not an attractive thing to talk about. These are uncomfortable situations uncomfortable conversations because we create these situations. And the ones that have to stop it are us, the American people, have to come together and say, we are not going to stand for this being normalized anymore.
It is what you do differently that makes you different.
How do I put this politely? I've been a proponent of change for a very long time. I come from a very political family, right? And I have a problem, one issue with some of the things in terms of movements that have happened as far back as the early 60s and 50s, right? These things happen, but one, they can't always find the funding that they need to continue the traction. And then two, the solution-based conversation doesn't always happen, right? And I feel like with this road to change, there is more solution-based conversation. So with the Georgia Alliance, Student Alliance, can you guys tell me from a young perspective, what are some of the opportunities you guys see in terms of solution for this gun violence problem?
I think the main thing is getting people out to vote. A lot of our work has been about voter outreach, doing absentee voting. Today at this event, we had people walking around with clipboards, getting people registered. So I think that's the main thing, is just getting people to use their rights and to use their American privilege to actually make change.
I completely agree with Adrina. Also, we need to educate ourselves on what laws we have in our states and what laws we have nationally to see what we can pass, and what and lobbying would be really important to help pass things that would help prevent further gun violence.
For years, black people, brown people, anybody living in inner cities have been screaming for gun reform for years and years, but we're not given the same platform. And so I thank all of you for creating this, but this needs to change today. With that, all of us sitting here can change that narrative. Because I want to grow up in my community. I want to have children. I want to flourish. But I can't flourish if this common thread of gun violence and gunshots are so conditioned and it's my reality. Do you want that to be your reality? No. So why does it have to be mine?
This is something I've been saying for quite some time. The only way to beat a system is to build a system. And that seems to be something that can be across the board understood in all generations. The system has been broken. So if we are going to change it, we have to find these 18-year-old running politicians or people who want to be a part of Congress. We have to register more people to vote so they can vote for them. And now, not only are we not fighting the system anymore, but now we're implementing pieces to now where we're real players in it. We've been removed from the game for so long. I mean, people have not looked out for our interests for so long. You know, not white, not black, but people. It's been about $1 bill. I grew up in that. You grew up in that. I mean, my mom grew up in that. It's been about $1 bill for at least 5 generations, and that has to stop. And I think that once you can put real value on human life and you can gain a true understanding, a perspective, I think it's really 2 answers to the big question. How can we bridge this gap? Like, how can people begin to come together? Perspective and understanding. You have to see where I'm coming from, and then you have to be able to understand it, right? So to that point, what can you say to all these people, right? Let's say 1 million people are seeing this right now. How can we get them to change their perspective and then gain an understanding?
It's just about being open to those tough conversations and being able to say that maybe my perception of what's going on right now isn't the reality of what's happening. And we need to look beyond what is right in front of us and see what is deeper than that. What are the root causes of this oppression? What is causing this injustice to be perpetuating from generation to generation? What is this trauma doing to these kids? What is the effect of our inaction? And what will the effect of our action be in a powerful way? And so it's just about, it's all comes down to education. If you are the racism and the misogyny and the people who are inactive in this society all come from a place of ignorance and misunderstanding. And if you can get rid of the misinformation and the hate and fill it with love and information, education, and get people engaged and say, I'm the one that they send to counter protesters and the NRA, and I'm the one who talks to the people that talk about shooting us. And I just say, like, why are you feeling like that? Why? This is what we're fighting for. You agree with this. You agree with 7 of our 10 points. These 7 points would save countless lives. Why don't we talk about working together on this? And these are people who are literally Nazis. And as a Jewish boy, they would hate to know that. But it's just about, like, understanding that we aren't that different, and most of us are in the middle, and the polarization benefits the oppressor, and it benefits the people who are benefiting from the system. And the system is not helping the people. The system is hurting so many people and ruining lives, separating families, killing our children.
Let me ask you this. Will you see change in your lifetime? You can really do anything. You're born with all the gifts and all the drive and all the courage and everything you ever need. You were born with that. And if you really want something done, you have to reach in yourself and pull out that strength that you're born with. Because as you get older, you forget by what your friends tell you, your coworkers, your family. You forget what you were put here to do.
I mean, this isn't just topping it off. This is building blocks. And building blocks of education that are going to be there like the pyramids in Egypt for a long, long, long time.
You learn anything about yourself, about the system, or about kids and their understanding of it?
Well, yes. What I learned about the kids is that they're very honest and very open to what you tell them. I also understood that they got it. In other words, they realized the world that we're in, the situation that we're having today, and how they need to protect themselves and respond to that.
You want to be loud, be clear, and be in control with IMLCorp's The Sound Commander.
This has been a presentation of IMLCorp.